Episode number 352, recorded December 6th, 2022. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast on gadgets, the internet. I'm Sean Jennings, and I am joined, as always, by a man who sometimes gets confused with a sea bass because he's such a catch. It's Colby Rabideau. Hello, Colby.
Nice. Hi. I've never been compared to a sea bass before.
I had a long list of alternates for the opening. I had a long list of openings. I try to think of what some of them were. There was, and now, as always, by a man who's killed 1,500 less animals than Elon Musk, Colby Rabideau. That was going to be topical. There was another. Oh, I was going to say, and I'm joined as always by a man who is favorably compared to the great pastime of baseball because he's such a good sport. It's Colby Rabideau. That was another one. I had a whole bunch I went through.
Amazing.
But I went with the catch.
Right. We'll have to type that one into the image the AI image generator and see what comes out.
Colby Rabideau, the sea bass. Yeah, I'd be very curious to see.
Amazing.
The stuff of nightmares. Well, first of all, I gotta say, this is good news. We love Dan. Dan's the man. We love Dan. But I gotta be honest, Colby, if there's any one piece of feedback I get on this show from the handful of people who watch and listen, it's Colby doesn't talk enough. I kid you not. Everyone independently says that. They say Colby doesn't talk enough. And so, guys, I've got good news for you. This episode is all Colby all the time. Get excited.
Yeah. Careful what you wish for. You may not be able to get me to shut up.
Well, I was gonna say, didn't we say that about Kanye West too? And that that didn't go so well. So I think this will go a lot better.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you're in for it.
There you go, man. Spit some truth.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't always talk that much.
Sometimes Dan and I talk a lot.
It's true.
I just talked over you just now.
Right. You can't help it. Somebody has to be. It's just the way of life. Like someone in every group of people, someone has to be the quiet one.
With this interface, it's very difficult. I found, like, when Matt and I just do the two of us, it's very different. And then Matt's show tomorrow is canceled, which a new episode went up a week or two ago. They have 5 hosts on that show. It's you should hear, because that is the one show I aggressively edit.
Yeah.
Like because I promised them I would, and I don't have to host it, so it's a little different. But I have to do so much editing because 4 of them will talk over each other at the same time. Because it's just so many people. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. With the latencies, that's just hard. It's hard to manage. I guess, do you use Riverside for that too? So
yeah,
it gives you all the people as separate things, at least.
Yeah, individual channels. And then what I end up doing a lot is if 3 people say something good at the same time, I'll just stagger the comments so it sounds like they said the one after. So I do get a little clever with it. Nice. But it is interesting to listen to each channel, and the show comes out great if people haven't listened to it. It's an interesting. I think they're now on the schedule about once a quarter, so not a lot to catch up on. It turns out it's hard scheduling 5 people to do a show. So
right, yeah, that's interesting. Now, do you think, as like knowing this, like as a podcaster, is it better to, like, when you start talking over someone, is it better to just finish what you said and not like do a weird like no you go?
It depends on the style. Like, if you're editing it like that other show, you're better to just keep talking, because then you at least have the clip. But on a show like this where I do no editing because I just don't care, it's not good. But that's experience. I can't believe we've done 352 of these, so I have a decent idea of when you and Dan are like done talking. And I think, if we started from scratch right now, not knowing each other, it's a lot more difficult, for sure.
It's fascinating. If only our brains work that way. Recording things separately when people were talking over each other.
Yeah, I don't hear that good, unfortunately.
Now I'm imagining like a world where you could just like you didn't have to like wait for the other person to finish talking to talk because like everyone could just be talking all the time.
Well, to be honest with you, Colby, I kind of think we already live in that world.
Mm.
I don't think there's any technology or science enabling it. I just think we all talk all the time and don't listen to what other people are saying. And I got to tell you, it sucks. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
So what's good, man? It's been a month since we last connected here on the show.
Oh my god.
It's been wild.
I know. What happened? Thanksgiving happened. Gave thanks, ate turkey. I've had a car for a while. Did we cover I took the radio out of my car and put a touchscreen in it.
Yeah, we haven't gotten the report of how it's been though.
It went pretty well. So it took 2 tries. Because the first time, so I took the radio out, put the thing in, worked fine. I tested all the buttons on the steering wheel. They like skipped songs. So I was like, nice. But it turned out that there's a microphone. Like there's a microphone on like the new like digital screen radio replacement has a microphone, like a wired microphone that you needed to plug in and like put somewhere. And I didn't realize that was there. So if you don't plug it in, what happens when you get a phone call on your phone while it's plugged into the car is that no, the person on the other end can't hear you. You can hear
the inside of your pocket. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just silence. So I had to take it out and plug the microphone in and then put it back in. But that was so far that's been the only that was the only snafu. And otherwise my like super old car has a nice touchscreen that you can touch and see Google Maps on. It's
nice.
Great. Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, it's funny. I actually was just I'm going to say about talking with my mother because she's the only person I ever talk to anymore because she lives in my house. But she has a terrible time with the wireless CarPlay. She has wireless CarPlay in her car. And mine can be flaky, but hers, for some reason, just never. And like figuring it out, troubleshooting, it's very difficult. And so I told her she doesn't drive very much. Like she uses the CarPlay maybe once a month when she does like a long drive for the GPS. I told her, I gave her a cable. And I said, listen, just plug it in. She got all mad. I paid for the wire, I paid for the wireless. I want to use it. I said, listen, Colby had the choice and he took the wired because for the rare times you use it, you want it to work every time and you don't want to fuss with it because mine is very flaky.
Yeah, that's not what you want when you're actually driving. I know how Bluetooth is. Yeah, no, the wire's great. I didn't even get like mine doesn't even have the option for wireless. Because for whatever reason, a bunch of the ones that had the wireless didn't like they had wireless and they had a wire, but the wire doesn't work with CarPlay. It only works with Android Auto. And I cannot explain why that's the case. So I just got the wired one and it was cheaper.
Yep.
And it works every time. No, no ifs, ands, or buts.
Excellent. Good. Well, the people of Massachusetts and Rhode Island are much safer knowing that Colby's keeping his eyes on the road.
Darn right.
And with the quality of paved roads in Rhode Island, that's probably a good thing.
That used to be true, but Rhode Island got a bunch of COVID money and they've been using all of it to repave all of the roads. So it's actually been for almost my entire life, you could tell when you got into Rhode Island from Massachusetts because like suddenly the road would be super bumpy, and it is actually reversed for the first time that I can remember.
Whoa.
Like you can now tell that you've entered Rhode Island because you're on smooth pavement from Massachusetts' slightly older pavement.
I'm very happy to hear that because not that I've driven in a lot of places, but I've never seen anywhere quite like Rhode Island where it's not just like road that's bad, but it's roads that's like splotchy. Like it's not even that it's like a road that had gotten old, but it's road that's been patched for like 80 years. And so it's all just it's like a Swiss cheese million patch. I'd never seen that.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Like patched to the point where the original pavement like probably wasn't there anymore. There was none left. You couldn't find it. It was just patches. But times are changing, you know. Things are looking up for old Rhodey.
Big Daddy Brandon up there, cashing checks.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. What about you? What's been going on?
Well, I was in Vegas. I think that we talked about that on the last show.
Did you get a $50 cocktail?
So I had two goals: get a cocktail and ride in the stupid Tesla tunnel.
Oh,
I accomplished one of the two.
Oh no!
I got a $30 cocktail, and which actually, maybe I'll see if I can throw it. You know, I'm not the guy who like takes photos of his food. I'm really not, because I just don't care.
Sure.
But I had to take a picture of this. We went to. If you ever get to go to Las Vegas and you're looking for somewhere to eat, Sushi Samba is probably my favorite restaurant in Vegas. Incredible. One of those great places where you just say the chef, you know, you make a menu and they'll just bring you food and you don't know what it is. That's part of the fun of it. So it's like, oh, it's a ceviche taco. And you're like, oh, this is okay. You know, it's like all kinds of cool stuff. But I got this beautiful, it was orange liqueur. It had cranberries in it. Let me share the tab here with my picture in it. And what else did it have in it? They floated something in it. The thyme. Oh, it was absolutely incredible. And I had this was after a nice glass of sake before it. So in respect to alcohol, and I learned a new cocktail. Let me throw this one. Have you ever heard of a paper plane?
Hell yeah.
Okay. I never heard it. That thing's really good.
Does it have grapefruit in it, or am I mixing it up with something else?
You are mixing it up with something else. It kind of tastes like like if a strawberry lemonade slushy melted.
Mm.
And it was a coworker of mine was like, yeah, I just found out about this. Here, I'll order. He ordered me one. I'm like, this is good. So I did drink very well, which was nice. We stayed at the new Resorts World Hotel, which was wonderful. And the show was good, but the tech angle on this, Colby, I got to try the stupid Tesla tunnel.
Nice.
And let me send up a picture here for the folks watching the video version so you can see what the view looks like. Driving one of these cars. The guy did not mind I took the picture. So the scoop on it is a Tesla that you get in and it takes you down a very narrow tunnel, the width of a Tesla. What I will say is it's very quick. Like to get from the convention center to the hotel was like 2 minutes, if that. And so it's not a long tunnel. I didn't feel claustrophobic. Now, do I think you can probably get the doors half open in the width of the tunnel, so it isn't wide, but you were going through it at a decent, like 30 miles per hour, so it really didn't feel super claustrophobic. And I never saw any other cars because it wasn't that busy.
Right.
So you kind of just zipped through it.
Are there cars going the other way?
Well, that's what's interesting. So in a version, they actually have two tunnels side by side, one going one way, one going the other. In this case, they hadn't built the other tunnel yet, so they were using like a red light, green light, like a bunch of cars go one way and then a bunch of cars go the other. But no, at any time, it's only the one direction.
Now, is this dude is like a Tesla employee or something? Like he's a professional Tesla driver?
I hope so. I mean, yeah, they all had people in the cars, and the people were very nice. And yeah, the dude just drove, and he was driving, and it was not self-driving. I will point that out. His hands were on the wheel, and this guy was driving. They were very good, but my complaint about these is like everything involving the certain billionaire lunatic. Everything seemed really slapdash and shoddy. Like everything was half built, and the road was very bumpy. Like it was not a particularly smooth ride. And to get in and out of the tunnels, you have to do like these crazy sharp turns. At one point, they're like these security gates, which makes sense to get in and out. This guy was driving up to the gate. The gate suddenly started closing for no reason. He slammed on the brakes, and I went flying into the seat in front of me. So the whole thing, it genuinely felt like this does not feel properly built.
Nice.
But in terms of, it was a relatively comfortable ride, and it was very fast. So, and I got to be the nerd who told all my coworkers about it. And I'm like, you got to try the Tesla tunnel. You got to try it. And then they'd come to me and be like, that was cool. I was there with a couple of engineers, product development engineers, and they got a fun time out of it. So
that's cool.
I would recommend it if you're at the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Sure. Now, I have to admit, Sean, when you told me you were going to ride in the Tesla tunnel, I thought you meant you were going to ride in the other thing.
The Hyperloop?
Hyperloop, yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was going to be
that's not a thing. That's not a thing.
I didn't know. I didn't know it was just like a tunnel with a car in it.
Buddy, you got to get more online.
Apparently.
Someone's not spending enough time on Twitter like me.
No. We should talk about Mastodon or something, or all of the Twitter stuff. We just haven't talked about the Twitter stuff.
No, I was thinking, actually, as I was putting the rundown together, because we didn't talk about that. We haven't talked about any of the Bitcoin blockchain stuff, as that's imploded.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, we're the podcast that covers medium stories. Right. Like, we don't cover big stories, and we don't cover like small, interesting stories. We cover the medium stories, right. For better or worse.
The boring ones. Heck yeah.
But we can absolutely. Hey, listen, man, the floor is always open.
Cool.
That's for sure. So anyway, that was my review of the stupid Tesla tunnel. Neat, but wouldn't surprise me if it collapsed.
Sean, did the Tesla you rode in have the like? So I recently was in an Uber that was a Tesla, which was the first time I've ever been in a Tesla, and it sounds weird. It's got a really weird sound. I'm not sure about it. It sounds like a weird like spaceship thing, but like not in a good way. And then the other thing was like on the screen was like what I assumed to be like a sensor powered rendering of like where the car is, like in for like a top down view of like the car and everything around it. Which was like cool, but also weird because like the whole ride I just like stared at this bizarro screen that was showing me where the car was. Like, but also that's where I was. Like, I didn't need to look at it. I could have just looked around.
More interesting than real life.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. I guess that's they tried to build a self-driving car and all they got was this weird screen that shows you what's around the car.
Well, that's what's, not to get too deep into it, but that's what's so interesting about the Tesla self-driving versus other cars. Elon, they don't have any LiDAR or radar. They don't have any of that. It's only cameras in Teslas. And famously, Elon's like, well, humans drive with their eyes. Why should we need anything more than cameras to see? And then I'm like, but humans are terrible drivers. They kill lots of people. And so that's really all you're seeing on that screen is just what's on. And there's a bunch of funny glitches. I've seen a few of them on Instagram and floating around of like what the car thinks it's seeing, like a train coming on a, like the trains that go in the street, like it really confuses those, like it's coming. It thinks it's an 18-wheeler or whatever. It doesn't. Yeah, no, it can be a little scary.
We have one of those street trains. That would be fun / terrifying. I don't know, man. Yeah. Speaking of cameras, mine's blurry.
Like, I'm trying to. Did you like smear some jelly on it or something? I don't
think so. I think it's like
the focus is off.
Yeah. This happens to me all the time. But it happens to me way more on when we're recording Don't Panic. Like it happens every time we record Don't Panic, and it does not happen to me every day. And I don't know why. Maybe it's the microphone, like the microphone.
The depth is thrown. Well, yeah, I mean, it's got
Yeah.
such a small lens in it. I did that one episode with the continuity camera, and it looked like crazy good. But
Mm,
it's like the flakiest. I can't get it to work again. I've tried everything. Like because basically your computer has to detect it,
yeah.
and no matter, I follow all the instructions in certain ways. Don't move your phone. It's got to be landscape. Plug it in. Blah, blah, and I can't get it to
Right.
work again. I'm like, what a good idea done. Not good.
It's a shame.
Frustrating
Maybe they'll fix it.
or not.
Probably not.
All right. Anything else, good sir?
Cameras.
I did have a
Tesla.
question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
So, you're a young person, interested in technology, and I am an old man who still, when he wants to do music, downloads MP3s and puts them in his iTunes. But you're a strapping young lad who streams music, and I know that there's this Spotify year-end wrap-up thing going around, and I was curious if you'd be A, if you've seen yours, and B, if you'd be willing to share some of what Colby listened to in 2022.
So this is probably the worst year you could have chosen to ask me this, because I have been using Apple Music for the last like year. And
What? When did this happen? News to me.
I don't exactly remember what the impetus was for this. I think like at some point Laura and I decided to get the Apple like family sharing, the bundle one, because it was going to save us, it was just going to save us a bunch of money on like the storage and Apple TV Plus. So we're like, oh, we'll just get this. And then we were both like looking at that and like looking at our Spotify bills. And like I've been kind of annoyed. I don't like the ad things that Spotify pops up every time you open the app now. I mean, obviously it's not every time, but it's always like it, like, honestly, I like don't mind the content of the ads. I just mind like when it pops up, because usually I'm like running out of the house, like going to the bus or something, and I just want to put some stupid music on. And like this thing pops up that is like a thing I like might actually be interested in, but I can't be interested in it at that moment. And so I have to like swoop it away so I can put my tunes on. And there was that and some small paper cuts and money, and I was just like, oh well, maybe I'll try Apple Music. So I've been I've been using Apple Music, but the for better or worse, the side effect of that is that I don't really have a Wrapped worth mentioning this year.
Hey, that's totally not a necessary thing. I think that's great, and you were able to transition over.
Yeah, I did. I used some weird app that like transferred all my playlists, which was fine. It worked fine. Um, it's not, Apple Music is slower in a weird way. Like it's not that bad on the phone, but for some reason on the computer, it's like slow. Like if you skip songs, there is a notable pause in between the songs sometimes,
weird.
which absolutely never happens on Spotify, or at least it didn't used to. Which is lame. And Apple Music's like when they do, if you listen to a playlist or an album and it starts playing music after, like their like algorithmic recommendations are not good. But like mostly it's fine. It has
They
all
got the
music.
songs.
Right. It has the songs that I wish to listen to, which has been the thing in the past that has always kept me from, not that I was particularly looking to, but like has always kept me from switching to anything else from Spotify. So I guess it's fine.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That is interesting.
I actually, for a long time, I had forgotten to cancel my Spotify subscription, even though I wasn't using it. So
I'm so bad about that.
I continued to pay them whatever $10 a month for much like a really solid chunk of time that I wasn't using it.
Well, what I hate that. That happens to me all the time because I just forget. But I will say there's one thing worse than that, which above forgetting, it's remembering to cancel it and not being able to figure out how to. Colby, would it shock you to learn I still, to this day, pay for the phone number tied to our Skype account? Which, if you call it, I don't even know what happens. But they suck a couple bucks out of me every month because the Skype and Microsoft account settings are so okay. Whoa, a little close. The settings are so badly interconnected with one another that I genuinely cannot find where in my account it even says it's billing me. So I haven't been able to cancel it. So
that's crazy.
Someday
you
I'll
have to like call someone on the phone.
Yeah, like I said, maybe we've got all these great voicemails, and I don't even have Skype installed on my computer or phone, so I wouldn't even be able to get to it. So,
wow.
Called it. Do I need six? What's 8? It's still on the website, I think.
Oh yeah, let's look it up. Don'tpanic.io.
Great website. Everyone should check it out. 508 Tech. That's right. It's a good number.
644 Tech. It is a good number.
It's a good number. We should bring. Oh my god, I can't believe. It's funny when I look through this week in Pixtory. Man, there's just a lot of them. They go back.
I know. 2013. That's almost 10 years ago.
I know.
1 decade of Don't Panic.
Jesus. Well, this June it will be.
Oh my god.
Believe
Old iOS apps.
Yeah, that's one thing for the 10-year anniversary. I'm gonna go through the list of picks and see how many of them still exist.
It's a good
idea.
Because
I've gone I'm still I think I've gotten 99% of them, but there's still some old ones I'll find that are missing in the website database, and I'll fix them. And I'll go to these URLs, and they're like, it doesn't go anywhere. They just are out of business.
I just clicked the one to go to Google Play Music. And it actually, there's a page that you land on with a cute little animation. And it says, Google Music is no longer a thing.
That's the right. Well, listen, if anyone knows what to do with discontinued products, it's Google. So I'm glad they ran with that.
Discontinuing products for forever.
So funny. All right. Well, do you have any interest in talking about
Look, you can see me again.
Whoa. Whew, slightly less blurry.
All right. Sorry, what are you talking about?
No, well, there's some stories in the rundown. They're mildly interesting. I didn't include the big ones, so if you want to talk about them, hey, we can. But we also got stories in here about the journalism bill in Congress that Facebook said may cause them to take all news off of Facebook. We've got some new pricing tiers on the App Store, including the most expensive app ever. We've got Neuralink testing on animals, and we've got AAA titles getting more expensive for your game console.
$10,000 app, please, for $10,000.
That's right. I'll take an Apple app for $10,000. Starting next spring, Apple announced that they are changing from 100 possible price points in the App Store to 900 possible price points. How does that happen? Well, they've actually now increased the number of for lack of a better term, the suffixes that end in the dot. So it used to be 99 cents, right? But now you can actually end it in .00, so you can charge an even dollar, which is cool. You can also do 0.90 and 0.95 to finish them, so that gets you some variety. And then they've also expanded the different price steps with highest and lowest prices. Now, the cheapest app now goes down to 29 cents, and the most expensive app goes all the way up to $10,000.
Wow. And even $10,000 too, not just $9,999.99.
No, No, you can go all the way up there to a $10,000. I can't wait for the scammers to figure out how to get suckers to tap on that. It's going to be great.
Right. It's like Fortnite skins or something.
Absolutely. I'm sure that's what this is for. I'm sure in-app purchases are where you'll see more of $10,000 than buying apps. I guarantee it.
Right. It is a trap.
The even dollar's exciting. To me, that's exciting because I do think the 99 cents thing is dumb. And I would rather just pay $5 than $4.99. And I'm excited that apps can now be so they're gonna be 50-cent apps, 30-cent apps, 75-cent apps. No, I don't think they're gonna be 95-cent apps. So
yeah. You know, it's funny, I never, thinking about it now, it's obvious to me that there was like a drop down of prices you could select and not like you could type in whatever price you wanted. But I never considered it before that regularity in app prices was like constructed, not like a natural phenomenon.
Well, and this was part of the class action lawsuit against them. And in the settlement of that suit, they pledged to, part of the lawsuit was claiming that they limit what people can charge. And that was a restriction in the App Store. So this was part of the response to the lawsuit, was them opening up more of these potential price points.
Like, why would they have done that on purpose?
That's a good question. The old max was $999. It's basically $1,000. I don't know who's charging more, so that doesn't seem helpful. I guess you could argue the minimum used to be 49 cents and now it's 29 cents. Oh, 99 cents for apps. So maybe it's under 99 cent. I don't know.
Can't explain it. I think we should get into the $10,000 app business.
All right, pitch me.
Well, I don't know what it is yet.
What app? But in all seriousness, like joking aside, what is a app you could actually charge? Now, maybe there'd only be 5 people in the world who ever buy it, but what is an app that you could legitimately argue is worth $10,000?
All right, so it's an app that lets you call the Don't Panic hosts at any time of day.
Wow.
Full unadulterated access to Don't Panic.
Wow.
For $10,000.
I mean, I would do that for far less, but I'm glad you're worth it. I'm glad you're worth it. No, that's a good one. I was thinking, what if it's an app that after you pay for it and download it, there's a big button and it says push this button to get $10,001. Like that, I think that would be good incentive to buy it.
Sure. You just get a refund.
And you just get $1,001, $10,001.
Well, I feel like in reality you'd get like $7,500 or whatever amount of money is left after Apple takes their cut.
Oh, that's right. They get 30%. Oh, that's a bummer.
Right.
That bums me out.
They're pound of flesh.
Would you like to? So I Googled most expensive apps on the App Store. Would you like to hear about some of them?
Absolutely.
The IDIA, which is the Diagnostic Imaging Atlas for Small Animals, costs $399.99. It gives vets and animal owners a detailed and graphical explanation of various diagnostics using high-quality graphics.
So, like, you take a picture of your dog and it tells you if your dog is sick?
No, actually, let me share my screen because it's funnier than that. No, it's basically like, it's the textbook scam market, essentially, where you get like a little like doodle of a dog and you can tap on its heart and it'll tell you stuff about its heart.
Those are so old. Those are such old timey.
All these screenshots are. I think this might be a really old. Let me see if there's a different. 9 of the most. I mean, these are all just generic listicle articles. Okay, I don't know what that is. 6 of the most expensive apps you can buy today. Updated 2022. Okay. Let's go. No, I want really. All right, here's $999. Cyber Tuner is a professional piano tuning app. It was programmed by a registered piano technician. $1,000. It's got nearly 50 ratings, so people are paying for it to tune a piano.
Well, does it have good ratings or bad?
Well, it's got 4.8 out of 5 stars according to this article.
See, yeah, I feel like that's what you got to do. Like something. I feel like piano tuning is a great example of this because I feel like that's not a thing that many people do, but it is a thing that people do. And probably $999 is not that much for a thing that does the thing.
Apparently, there are a bunch of tuning apps that are very expensive because they're so precise. Here's the DDS-GP app is for dentists, and you use it at the chair side to show the patient what's going on in their mouth in 3D render. For $399.
Wow.
And a lot of these are just stupid junk that I don't think anyone ever actually. I'm just looking for ones like people actually bought. I mean, I think my pitch would be, because people are all about exclusives these days. I think it's the world's most exclusive dating app.
Sure.
And you have to pay $10,000 to get in and download the app. And I bet you could get 100 people to do that.
Totally. It'd probably work too. For them, I mean, the if you're willing to pay $10,000 for an app, and so is this other person, statistically, you might be made for each other. Soulmates.
Well, they did have this was a video going around. I have so much free time. I got to get off the internet. There was a video going around. There was this art installation, and part of it was had an ATM where you would put in your, I don't know if you saw it, you put in your card, and there was a big screen on the top of it, and it would take your picture, and it would put in your bank account balance, and it would rank you. So it would say your name and your bank balance and a picture of you, and then it would say where you ranked of everybody who's used that ATM. And it was kind of neat. And who was it? It was like was it Diplo, or it was like some professional musician, famous musician guy went up, used it, and he had like $3 million in his checking account, and he went up to number one. And I'm like, on one hand, that's weird, but on the other hand, that's kind of cool. Like, what a neat idea that is. So we could make a $10,000 app that, like, right, I don't know, maybe there's
something like that.
Yeah, it's a rich guy ranking app.
Right. The whole point of the app is to show how much money you've spent on the app.
Or even better, because I don't know if this $10,000 cap is just for app purchases or it's also for subscriptions. So I think it's a $10,000 a month subscription, and you go up the longer you've had the subscription active. Shows how much money you have.
Oh, heck yeah.
Like, I've been paying $10,000 a month for 5 years. I'm on the top of the list.
Right. And maybe we also have in-app purchases for increments of $10,000 where, like, if you want to, like, jump to the head,
Yeah, by the ruby gem emeralds, and 100 of them will get you to the middle of the list, but 500 will get you to the, we just fucking game these morons.
Right. I like it. It's not a bad idea.
Well, there you go. Apple's new policies: spend more money, they'll get 30% of it. So they look forward to that. All right. Anything else you'd like to talk about here?
Facebook is banning news.
It's threatening to ban news. Let's discuss. There's a bill in Congress right now, the Journalism Competition and Preservation Act, very similar to bills passed in Australia and Canada. It basically would allow publishers to negotiate with platforms like Facebook and Google over the distribution of their content. Basically, right now, they just publish news and they publish the links to it, and the news sites don't make any money if nobody clicks to it. What this would do is it would give news publishers leverage against these companies and require them to pay for including news on its platform. A lot of pros and cons back and forth, but specifically Meta came out this week or at least one of their key executives, and said, if Congress passes, quote, if Congress passes an ill-considered journalism bill as part of a national security legislation, we will be forced to consider removing news from our platform altogether rather than submit to government-mandated negotiations that unfairly disregard any value we provide to news outlets through increased traffic and subscriptions.
Imagine Facebook without news. It might not be bad.
No, it
might
would be better.
good.
It would for sure
Right.
be better.
Like, I might go back on and see what's up.
Yeah, but again, it's that pro con. The pro is no news. The con is then you have to actually read what your friends are doing.
Right. It's a burden.
I don't know if that's much better.
Right. Wild. So that's so funny. Does that mean we could also negotiate with Facebook? Like what qualifies an organization as a news outlet?
I don't know, but damn it, we'll do our best to qualify. Because part of it is that, from what I've read a little bit, I'm not again an expert on this, but part of it is that it allows these you can negotiate as groups. The advantage to this bill is so Facebook doesn't have to negotiate with each individual newspaper and whatever. The bill specifically pushes group negotiations. So all we would have to do is slip into the group.
Right. We just need to join some news podcasters consortium. And bam, we're making fistfuls of dough. Or more likely, we're just not allowed on Facebook.
We're making a minuscule amount of dough. Right. Making pennies on the dollar. We're live on Facebook right now and we're not being paid.
Maybe, Sean, we should pivot Don't Panic from a tech podcast to a get rich quick podcast.
Listen, to be honest with you, I need to get rich quick. So I'm on board with that.
I got bills in this economy.
You can't afford not to get rich quick. I recently tried to watch some Twitch stuff. I was bored, and everyone's excited about Twitch. And oh my god, those streams where it's like ding, it's like a casino, ka-dink, bits and likes and subscribers and all that. And the hosts are always like, and thank you to Big Johnson 45 for another subscriber, and ding, and it's like shit's happening everywhere, and I'm like, is that how they make money? Oh my god, I definitely could not do that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can barely at work on Zoom calls, if I'm speaking, I cannot read the chat. I can't if I'm speaking and someone chats something about what I'm saying, I don't notice it until 5 minutes after I've stopped speaking. So I don't think I would succeed in a Twitch environment, unfortunately.
I will say this show, 10 years of doing the show, has aggressively prepared me to do exactly that thing. Talking and looking at a camera while also multitasking, reading, writing, and doing multiple things. I've hosted whole company webinars where I'm talking simultaneously while reading and it's it's the one actual skill I have. People are like, Sean, you're really good at talking for a long time without stopping. And I'm like, well, because in my line of work, you can't have any dead air. So,
well, there you go.
That's why Colby never talks on the show, unfortunately.
That's what I was going to say. I think you owe that to me.
You're not dead air, Colby. I promise. The people have spoken. They want less of me.
Amazing.
So hopefully Facebook will not delete all the news. To be honest with you, that's my local news. I probably get most of it on Facebook, to be honest, because I follow my local TV stations, my local papers. Yeah. Twitter, sure. I get national news, and sure. I have the New York Times app, but local stuff, yeah, I would miss that.
Right. Yeah, I get all my local news by reading the headlines on the Boston Globe website without paying them, because their subscription is still $30 a month for just digital, which I think is egregious. Said it before, I'll say it again. If it was $5 a month, I would have been paying them $5 a month since I moved to Boston 8 years ago. But since it's not, I've paid them no money ever. Your
I,
loss.
I was thinking about that. I follow a lot of journalists, and I was thinking about that the other day, where it's like every once in a while there'll be like an interesting article on like the Arizona Republican or like the San Diego News Times, and you're like, okay, I want to, and then they ask you for, and I'm like, man, someone needs to make a system where it's like 50 cents to read an article one time. And I would do that. I would absolutely do that. But it's always like, $20 a month to read this one article in the Minneapolis St. Paul News Review that you're never going to read again.
Right. Even less than 50 cents, right? Like, how many people click through?
Right. It's got to add, especially when your story's good enough to get national attention. Like think of how many outside subscribers are coming in from not the local area.
Right. So I always feel that way about like the Wall Street Journal, right? Is like that, where it's like you'll find yourself on a Wall Street Journal link and you can read the first paragraph. It's like, okay, well, obviously I'm not going to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal to read this thing that seems passively interesting.
But wasn't that the promise of Apple News? Like,
I
wasn't
think it
Apple
was.
News where it was like you'll pay one monthly fee and you'll get a bunch of these newspapers you would normally have to buy separately, and then nobody cared.
It still exists, right? You can still Apple News.
Yeah. I wonder what, because I think Wall Street Journal made me think of it. I think they're on there.
Maybe I should use Apple News.
That
I think
would be
I have the subscription.
Well, yeah, it's part of your Apple One account.
Apple
I wonder
News.
though if you can set it up. The trick for me is like most of the articles I find on like social media, and I wonder if you can set it up so when you open a Wall Street Journal link, it opens in the app. Yeah, it says here the Wall Street Journal, Los Angeles Times, the Houston Chronicle, the Kansas City Star, the Miami Herald, the Modesto Bee, San Francisco Chronicle, the Times Union, the Dallas Morning News. Yeah, maybe.
It doesn't seem bad.
Yeah, maybe you might want to check it out.
I don't know. How much news can a person
or not? You're like, no, I'm good.
I talked myself out of that pretty fast.
That's good. Now, see, but now you got me thinking. So you use the Apple Music, you use the Apple TV Plus, you use the Apple Arcade, I assume, at least one app at some point, right?
Yeah, like I don't do a lot of phone gaming because I don't really commute anymore, and like when I do commute, there's like my work is in a truly inconvenient place to get to via public transit, so I do a lot of getting on and getting off of things, which is not not great for playing games. So I don't play a ton of games, but I do have a couple. I have like a solitaire app that I will play sometimes.
Well, the only one would be Apple Fitness.
Apple Fitness I use sometimes.
Okay.
It is cool. Like I'd like to see my stats on the screen. That's fun.
Well, then you're getting your money's worth, man. What a great upgrade.
Yeah, we'll see. Bundling.
And speaking of upgrades, we got to pivot on over to picks, Colby, and I see here an upgrade listed as your pick of this week. Everybody!
So this was another thing that presumably because we have been so what's the word, negligent about covering the tech news, I didn't even know that they released a new Apple TV. I was like complaining. I was complaining to Laura about how I wanted to get a new Apple TV. And I don't know if we must have talked about this on the show, but the previous new Apple TV I tried to purchase and it got like stolen. Like the FedEx person like left it outside and it got stolen, and I was just like not in the mood to Or actually, I don't know if it got stolen. It might have gotten delivered to our Bizarro World building, which happens like we live at 60 Charles Gate East, and there is a 60 Charles Gate West out there in the world. That is like, it's like kitty corner, like across the highway from us, and sometimes packages just get delivered there. So it could be that that's what happened to it. But in any case, I tried to get the previous new Apple TV. I didn't get it, and I was like too much of a butt to like solve the problem. So when I learned the other day that there was a new Apple TV, I was like, oh great, and I just went to the store and got one. Um, and it's exactly like the old Apple TV. I don't have a 4K TV, so the picture was not a meaningful upgrade, but it is not slow or weird in any of the ways that my old Apple TV was weird. And the new remote is really quite nice. It
Oh.
has like an iPhone-esque looking like click wheel kind of, but you can still do all the swiping on the middle of the wheel, but it also has like you can like click the buttons, like it has like a directional pad. And it also has a button that is a power button that shuts everything off, which you used to have to like dive into menus for. I don't know. It was a pretty good upgrade for like $100 or whatever it costs. I was pleased.
Cool.
Yeah, $150. Is that
That sounds right.
150 big ones?
That sounds right. I was Googling how long Apple TV has been a thing. And that would be since 2007.
Wow.
Which is kind of incredible. And it took this long to make a remote that's really great.
Have I had the same Apple TV since? Was there a really old one?
Well, the first high definition one, I believe, was 2015. Is that right? Let me look.
Oh yeah, I remember the really old one that had like it had a totally different remote.
Yeah, did your one support 4K at all?
I think my old one was the first one that had the touch remote.
Okay. Okay.
And it was the first one that had like tvOS. Remember they did a big like OS upgrade.
Yeah, so you had you either had the original HD or the first 4K one.
I think so. I'm pretty sure it was the original HD that I was still
Okay,
cranking.
wow. Well, I mean, that came out premiered in 2015. So it had a pretty good run.
Yeah, no, that was not a bad deal. And honestly, all things considered, it worked fine. You know, like once in a while an app would get weird and crash. There was a period of time where Netflix definitely had a memory leak, so if you like scrolled through Netflix for too long, it would basically stop working and you have to quit the app and start again. Like try and get to where you were trying to go really fast. But yeah, we're on to bigger and better things.
Well, I will say, one of the underrated aspects of Wikipedia is these extremely helpful product version tables.
That's exactly what I'm looking at.
Like, I can't tell you, like, it is underrated how helpful these, when you're like, how many Zunes did they make? And then you can look and you like have like a timeline and all this like ultra detailed stuff. I'm like, this is awesome.
Right. So it's almost making me consider clicking yes, I'll donate $2 on the like we'll be quick.
Yeah,
Please
I mean,
give us money.
Definitely get $2. I think I donated to Wikipedia once, like 5 years ago, so I think I'm good.
Yeah, I did too, and now they always email me every year.
I think I wrote it off on my taxes that year, but it was such a small amount. I don't think it mattered at all. All right, well, that's a great pick. Apple TV 4K, a worthy upgrade, says Colby. For my pick this week, I have a book I just read on my Vegas trip because I like to read when I am on planes. And I've been wanting to read this. It's going to be on a future Up for Debate episode. The book is called Song of Spider-Man, the inside story of the most controversial musical in Broadway history. It is the behind-the-scenes story of the famously bad Spider-Man musical, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. The book is written by the playwright who actually wrote the musical. So he was inside, he was the guy. Telling story of Julie Taymor, who was the director, but also from the U2, Bono and Edge, who wrote all the music. And I will say the book is written like a guy who writes musicals for a living. Like it's very grandiose in its language, and you can tell like this man tells stories. But it's a good read. It's not a long read, and it is very interesting story. Yeah, I try not to be one of those dorky, like, you can learn something about management from every book you read. Like, I'm not that guy. But this is one of those books where constantly it's like, if we had only said something 18 points along the development process, we would have saved ourselves. There's, I won't tell the whole book, but there's a story of like, yeah, we have this idea for this big, huge set piece on the ceiling that's going to drop a web down on the audience or whatever, part of the big spectacular. And they're like, well, we have two choices. We can spend $80,000 and build a small model to test it, or we can spend $1 million and just build the whole thing without testing it. Guess which one they did? They built the whole thing
for it.
And then the funny thing is, after they installed it, not only did it not work, they found out it was going to be in the way of all the other wires, so they literally cut it down and never used it. One of many great stories in this book, and I recommend checking it out. And coming up in the next couple months, Matt and I, you can watch the entire Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark on YouTube. And it's shot with like a handy cam in the audience, so the video's terrible. But you can watch it. It's like 2.5. Matt and I are going to do a live commentary on it at some point coming up. And I'm very excited.
Very good.
So if you want to read the book ahead of time and brush up, that's why I did. I'll drop some facts during that. But definitely worth reading.
Nice.
Excellent. All right, Mr. Colby. Anything else this fine Tuesday evening?
I think we covered it, if we're being honest.
We covered a lot. I think we're good for like a whole nother month or two. I mean, there's really no rush to.
Yeah, like January, February.
I mean, that's next time we'll see Dan at the rate that poor guy's going. Yeah, exactly. Who knows where? It's so funny. The running joke is, where in the world is Dan Miller? He's like, oh, I just had a red-eye flight last night. I'm like, from where?
From where to where?
Like, it's my goodness, the man never sits still. Well, hopefully we'll have him back. In an upcoming episode, that would be great. And actually, we haven't done Up for Debate in a while. I don't even know the last time we did one of those, because turns out when you spend all day around children, you're constantly sick.
Yeah.
Very gross. He had no voice last week. So hopefully next week, I don't even know what the topic's going to be. Right now, the leading candidate is hats. Hats.
The haberdashery episode of Up for Debate.
Well, now that I'm growing my hair out, I guess I can give you a sneak preview here. It's all hat, but it's much longer than it used to be.
I don't know if I've ever seen your hair that long.
I have not had long hair since high school, so you haven't.
So no, yeah.
And I'm finally growing it out, but the problem is, it's long enough to be annoying, but not so long I can really style it. So I've been wearing more hats, which I've never done before. I've never been a hat guy. So I'm interested in hats, want to learn about the history of hats, talk about some different hats. So maybe we'll do hats. I don't know what we're going to do. We'll figure it out. We usually do it the last minute.
Nice.
But check that out. Of course, this show is Don't Panic, our fantastic website made by this man over here. Don'tPanic.io has the audio, the video, the phone number for some reason, and links to all the picks. So definitely check that out. Of course, you can subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Look for that big red button with the video version on YouTube. You can see Colby all out of focus. And of course, get in touch with us, don'tpanicshow@gmail.com, or tweet at us at Don't Panic Show, at least for as long as Twitter still exists. That's going to do it for us here. So on behalf of Colby, I'm Sean. We greatly appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time for another great episode